Welcome to the debate. Imagine it is 4:45 p.m. on a Friday. You are a solo practitioner, and you have this massive career-defining brief due to the appellate court at exactly 5:00 p.m.
Oh, the absolute worst-case scenario.
It really is. So you are putting the final touches on the document. You reach for your mouse to hit submit, and suddenly, boom, the internet goes down and your screen goes completely black.
Wow.
Right? The billable hour just stopped ticking. Today, an IT glitch isn't just, a minor annoyance for a small law firm. It is a massive professional liability.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we are operating in an era where practice management, legal research, court filings, they've all migrated entirely to the digital realm. So the ticking clock is the direct metric of revenue. If you experience, say, 4 hours of downtime, you aren't just having a quiet afternoon. You are missing filing deadlines, you're frustrating clients, and you're bleeding thousands of dollars in unrecoverable time.
And, that downtime introduces a layer of professional risk that goes far beyond just lost revenue.
Exactly.
The modern lawyer actually has an affirmative duty to safeguard client data and maintain operational competence. The research we're looking at today from platforms like moremax.net explicitly highlights this reality. I mean, you cannot be a competent advocate for your client if your foundational infrastructure just collapses under the slightest pressure.
Which is exactly why small firms must fundamentally abandon what we call the break-fix mentality.
Right, the old way of doing things.
Yeah. If you are waiting for a computer to physically break or a network to crash, before you dial a technician, you are already losing. The goal here is proactive resilience. But the tension in the source material, and really the focus of our discussion today, is about what true resilience actually looks like in practice.
And we definitely disagree on that part.
We do. I argue that true resilience requires rigorous physical infrastructure and centralized management. To protect the firm, you need 24/7 managed service providers, MSPs as they're called, along with localized power and internet redundancy and strict hardware life cycles. You basically have to build a physical fortress around your practice.
See, I come at it from a different way entirely. Building out heavy, localized infrastructure is honestly a massive overcorrection.
An overcorrection?
Yeah, true resilience doesn't come from building a physical fortress. It comes from decentralization. By relying on cloud-based continuity, stringent cybersecurity measures, and verified data backups, physical hardware becomes largely irrelevant.
Okay, let me lay out why that physical moat is absolutely non-negotiable. If you are a solo practitioner listening right now, you might be looking at your 5-year-old laptop and wondering why you need to change your approach.
Sure.
We have to start by acknowledging the hidden math of that break-fix era. It is literally the most toxic way to manage technology. When a small firm operates reactively, the partners usually think they are saving money, right, by avoiding those monthly IT retainers.
Because they don't see the immediate bill.
Exactly. But let's look at the actual mechanism of a failure. If your router dies, you might pay an IT technician a couple $100s to drive out and replace it. But the real cost is the 4 hours the lawyer spent offline.
Right, the lost time.
Yeah. If your billing rate is $400 an hour, that router didn't cost you $200, it cost you nearly $2,000. IT must be treated as a predictable, managed utility.
I mean, I agree with the math, but
Which means investing in a managed service provider. An MSP acts as your digital immune system. They aren't just the people you call when things break. They proactively monitor the network 24/7. They patch security vulnerabilities in the background, and they catch failing hardware before you even notice a lag in your system.
look, that proactive monitoring sounds great in a brochure, but we really have to look at what they are actually monitoring and whether a small firm truly needs it.
Of course they need it.
Your approach treats a solo practitioner or a 3-person boutique firm like they are a 100-person big law entity. You are asking them to build and maintain this enterprise-grade localized data center. But the server in the closet with a dusty fan is a complete relic.
I wouldn't call it a relic.
It is, though. By migrating entirely to cloud-based practice management systems, platforms like Clio, MyCase, or NetDocuments, small firms decentralize their risk. They offload that huge infrastructure burden to multi-billion-dollar tech companies like Amazon Web Services or Microsoft Azure.
Sure.
Those data centers have redundant power grids. They have biometric security. Why pay an MSP thousands of dollars a year to monitor a local router when your entire practice lives securely in the cloud?
Because your entire practice still requires a physical gateway to access that cloud. You're placing an enormous amount of faith in the seamlessness of cloud access.
It's pretty seamless these days.
Relying purely on the cloud without a MSP managing your local gateway is like having a state-of-the-art digital vault, but leaving the physical doors to the bank wide open.
Oh, come on.
No, it's true. Yes, the Vault, the cloud platform, is incredibly secure. But how do you actually get to it? If your primary internet connection drops, your cloud access vanishes instantly. That is exactly why professional-grade 5G failover is a critical piece of the physical infrastructure I'm advocating for.
I'm sorry, but I just don't buy that. Let me tell you why. You are assuming the lawyer is physically chained to their desk.
Well, they usually are working from their desk.
But if the local internet drops, the lawyer can simply open their smartphone, turn on their personal mobile hotspot, connect their laptop, and just keep working. I mean, it takes 30 seconds and costs absolutely nothing extra.
I see where you think that, but let me give you a different perspective. A personal hotspot is a Band-Aid. It's not a business continuity plan.
It works at a pinch.
If you are in the middle of a critical virtual court hearing and your internet drops, you don't have 30 seconds to fumble with your phone settings. The judge isn't going to wait for you. This is where an MSP and a dual WAN router come in.
Okay, explain the dual WAN for the audience.
Let's unpack that term. A dual WAN router is a device that manages multiple internet connections simultaneously. An MSP configures this router so that it constantly pings the internet. If a construction crew down the street accidentally severs your primary fiber optic cable, the router detects the drop in milliseconds.
Right.
And it automatically reroutes your entire office's network traffic to a localized 5G cellular connection. The lawyer doesn't have to touch a single setting. Your Zoom video with the judge might downgrade in resolution for a split second, but you do not drop the call.
Okay, I hear you, but
Wait, just to finish the thought, without that localized physical redundancy, your cloud utopia evaporates the second an excavator hits a cable. Furthermore, the MSP catches localized networking issues, like dropped packets. If your router is failing and dropping packets, which basically means pieces of your audio and video data are getting lost in transit before they reach the internet, your screen freezes up and you look incredibly unprofessional. The cloud cannot fix a failing local router.
But that assumes the primary threat to the firm's productivity is a dropped Zoom call. The source material we are looking at points out that if a major physical disruption happens, say a pipe bursts in the ceiling of your office, or a massive storm knocks out power to the block, the lawyer can simply relocate.
Relocate where?
The cloud enables mobility as the ultimate disaster recovery. You are advocating for building this incredibly robust, expensive physical fortress with dual WAN routers and enterprise networking gear in one specific geographic location. Why?
Because it ensures stability.
But why should a boutique firm invest heavily in keeping one specific room online when their primary asset, the lawyer themselves, can just pack up their laptop, drive to a coffee shop or their kitchen table, authenticate securely, and access every single file? The agility of the cloud makes the physical location completely disposable.
Mobility is an excellent solution for a burst pipe, I'll give you that. But it drastically underestimates the immediate catastrophic nature of a blackout or a severe power surge. Let's talk about why the source material mandates uninterruptible power supplies or UPS batteries on every single workstation and server.
I think those are overkill.
They are not overkill. A UPS is essentially a massive heavy-duty battery that sits between your computer and the wall outlet. It isn't just there to keep the lights on so you can finish typing a sentence. When the power cuts out abruptly from the grid, it doesn't just shut your computer down cleanly.
Sure, it's an abrupt stop.
It forcefully interrupts the physical hard drive while it is actively writing data. You risk corrupting the entire operating system. You risk corrupting the registry files. You risk completely destroying the unsaved brief you've been working on for 3 hours.
That's why you use autosave in the cloud.
Autosave isn't foolproof if the local machine corrupts. The UPS immediately takes over the power load, providing a critical 10 to 15-minute window for the lawyer to save their work securely and shut the machine down safely. It is about protecting the work product in real time. Expecting a lawyer to just pack up a potentially corrupted laptop and go to a coffee shop in the middle of a blackout disrupts the billable flow entirely. They lose an hour just relocating and setting up.
Losing an hour relocating is far cheaper than outfitting an entire firm with enterprise-grade UPS batteries that have to be constantly maintained and replaced.
It's an investment in continuity.
The always-on local office is a vanity metric for a small firm. Yes, a power surge might damage a machine, but again, a broken laptop or a corrupted operating system is a small, contained hardware problem. It's easily fixed.
I wouldn't say easily.
The real threat to the firm's survival, the thing that actually keeps managing partners awake at night, isn't a localized power outage. It's ransomware.
See, I'm not convinced by that line of reasoning because you are dismissing the daily grinding friction that kills profitability. Hardware matters. Capital outlays matter. This is exactly why I advocate for proactive, staggered hardware replacement.
Staggered replacement?
Yes. Running a laptop until it literally falls apart or the hard drive starts clicking is a massive gamble. The source material highlights that professional-grade hardware has a reliable, peak performance lifespan of about 3 to 4 years.
Right, that's standard.
If you establish a strict hardware cycle, replacing 1/3 of the firm's computers every single year, you smooth out your capital expenditures. If you have 9 employees, you buy 3 laptops a year. You avoid the massive sudden shock of having to replace 9 dead computers all in the same quarter.
Okay, but
And more importantly, you replace the machine before it begins throwing the blue screen of death and wasting the lawyer's time. A proactive hardware cycle is risk management at its most fundamental level.
you are managing the wrong risk. A blue screen of death might cost a lawyer an afternoon. Ransomware is an actual extinction-level event for a small firm.
Well, obviously ransomware is a threat.
It's the ultimate threat. Let's look at how ransomware actually operates. It doesn't just lock your computer screen and ask for money. It operates like a digital virus that actively crawls through your local network. It searches for connected hard drives, server files, client records, and it systematically encrypts them with a cryptographic key that you do not possess.
I know how it works.
Right, and when a bad actor encrypts a firm's files, the downtime is not measured in hours spent driving to an electronics store to buy a new laptop. It is measured in weeks of total paralysis. Small law firms are targeted specifically because automated scanning bots utilized by these bad actors know that boutique firms lack the robust, dedicated IT security teams of big law.
Which is why they need an MSP.
No. Therefore, capital is far better spent securing the cloud access rather than cycling out localized laptops that still work perfectly fine.
And how exactly do you propose a small firm secures that cloud access against sophisticated automated bots without the structural, localized oversight of a managed service provider?
By investing heavily in the human firewall and rigorous identity verification. The weakest link in any law firm's security is almost never the router. It is the employee sitting at the keyboard.
That is definitely true.
Regular, mandatory training on how to spot sophisticated phishing emails is essential. But humans are fallible, so you have to pair that training with strict multi-factor authentication, or MFA. MFA is the single most effective way to prevent unauthorized access.
Assuming they don't get bypass fatigue.
Even so, if an associate accidentally types their password into a fake Microsoft login screen sent by a hacker, the attacker now has their credentials. But with MFA, the attacker cannot access the cloud vault without the secondary, time-sensitive token that is sent physically to the associate's smartphone. The password alone is useless.
Right.
Furthermore, to protect the devices themselves, you don't need a local IT guy checking the health of your physical hard drive. You need endpoint detection software.
Ah, okay. Let's unpack what endpoint detection actually does, because its very mechanism perfectly supports my argument for proactive, centralized management.
How so?
Modern endpoint detection and response, EDR, isn't just your grandfather's legacy antivirus software. Legacy antivirus works by comparing files against a static list of known bad code. Endpoint detection is heuristic. It acts like a digital security guard watching for suspicious behavior.
Exactly. It monitors behavior.
Right. For example, if a background script suddenly attempts to open, encrypt, and rename 5,000 PDF files in the span of 10 seconds, the endpoint detection software flags that behavior as malicious and isolates the machine. But here is the critical part.
What's that?
A security guard is completely useless if no one is watching the security feeds. When that software flags a ransomware attempt at 2 in the morning, someone has to receive that alert, analyze the threat, and take action. That requires an MSP.
Not necessarily. It requires intelligent software, not a localized infrastructure overhaul. Modern endpoint detection can be configured to automatically sever the compromised machine's connection to the internet without human intervention.
But someone still has to clean it up.
The software intercepts the behavior at the device level instantly. And if a device is compromised or an employee makes a catastrophic mistake, we come to the ultimate safety net of IT resilience, the 3-2-1 backup rule.
Now, here is an area where our perspectives converge, though the implementation is where we'll clash. The 3-2-1 rule is the bedrock of recovery. You maintain 3 total copies of your data, you store them on 2 different media types, and you keep 1 copy completely offsite.
Right.
But the source material notes a crucial caveat that many law firms ignore. These backups must be rigorously tested. A backup that hasn't been verified to restore properly in 6 months might as well not exist.
Oh, untested backups are absolutely a placebo. We agree there. But look at how the mechanics of the 3-2-1 rule apply today. The off-site copy is the cloud.
Yes.
If ransomware hits the local network, as I mentioned earlier, the virus crawls through the system looking for connected storage. If your local backup is just an external hard drive plugged into the server in the closet, the ransomware will find that drive and encrypt your backups right alongside your primary files.
Which is why it needs to be immutable.
This is why the cloud-based offsite backup is the true lifeline. It is what we call air-gapped, meaning it is physically and logically disconnected from your local network's vulnerabilities. The ransomware worm cannot travel up into the cloud to encrypt the backup because the connection protocols literally prevent it.
I see the logic there, but it completely ignores the physical reality of data recovery. Yes, the cloud offsite backup is critical for a total site disaster, like a fire. But let's look at the bandwidth bottleneck.
The bandwidth bottleneck?
Yeah, a modern law firm holds terabytes of client data. If you get hit by ransomware and have to download 5 terabytes of data from a cloud server, that process can take days, if not over a week, depending on your internet connection.
Well, it depends.
You cannot bill clients while you wait for progress bar. This is where physical, localized redundancy saves the firm. An MSP deploys a verified, immutable local backup appliance. Immutable means the local snapshots are written in a way that they physically cannot be altered or encrypted by network ransomware.
I understand what immutable means, but
If a machine goes down, you don't wait days for a cloud download. You execute what is called a bare metal restore.
which is incredibly complex.
It is, which is exactly why an MSP handles it. A bare metal restore essentially means taking a completely blank, brand new computer, plugging it into the local immutable appliance, and rebuilding the firm's entire operating system, the user profiles, the software configurations, and all the files from scratch.
Right.
Because the data is transferring over a local cable rather than the internet, you recover in a matter of hours. The physical localized redundancy is what gets the firm back to billing time by Tuesday afternoon instead of next Friday.
But that entire localized recovery scenario assumes the physical hardware of the main server wasn't the point of failure.
It usually isn't.
But if it is, if the motherboard on the physical server dies, restoring data to a dead piece of silicon is impossible. You have to order parts, wait for shipping, and rebuild the machine before you can even begin the bare metal restore.
That's a rare case.
Conversely, if your data and practice management software live natively in a cloud environment like Clio, there is no bare metal restore necessary.
You simply buy a new laptop off the shelf, connect to Wi-Fi, authenticate via MFA, and you are immediately back to work. The recovery time is measured in minutes.
But again, you need the internet connection to reach that cloud environment, which brings us right back to the logical necessity of the 5G failover and the dual WAN router.
We're going in circles.
Because the layers depend entirely on each other, you cannot isolate the theoretical capacity of the cloud from the physical gateway required to access it. If we look at everything we've debated today, from hardware cycles to local backups, my core philosophy boils down to treating your IT like a utility company treats the power grid.
The power grid.
Yes, the unpredictability of technology demands a proactive physical moat around the firm's operations. The billable hour is too fragile to leave to chance. By engaging an MSP for 24/7 monitoring, enforcing a strict replacement cycle to prevent hardware decay, and establishing rigorous physical redundancy through UPS batteries and failover internet, a small firm controls its environment. This infrastructure ensures that when a 5:00 p.m. deadline looms, the technology performs flawlessly.
And my position remains that treating a boutique firm like a localized utility grid creates an anchor, not a moat. Small firms thrive on agility. By migrating entirely to cloud-based systems, you make the physical location and the physical hardware largely irrelevant.
I just don't see it as irrelevant.
But it is. The true threats to operational continuity aren't hard drive failures or a temporary power surge. They are ransomware and human error. A lean, robust form of resilience focuses a firm's capital on the human firewall, stringent multi-factor authentication, behavioral endpoint detection, and verified air-gapped 3-2-1 backups. You project the data where it actually lives, in the cloud, not the disposable plastic and silicon you use to look at it.
Well, despite our different architectural approaches, we both acknowledge a vital point of convergence from the source material. The reactive break-fix model is dead.
Oh, completely dead.
It is financially toxic to the revenue stream, and it directly violates the modern lawyer's professional obligation of operational competence. We both agree that the lawyer is the primary asset of the firm, and every minute they spend crawling under a desk to troubleshoot a router or staring at a stalled machine is just wasted capital.
We share that premise completely. Whether you are building a physical fortress or a decentralized cloud network, the ultimate goal is exactly the same: operational continuity. IT is no longer a cost center for a law firm, it is the very engine of the practice.
The evolution of legal technology is forcing small firms to balance this tension every single day. Navigating these layers of physical redundancy and cloud decentralization offers so much more to explore, particularly regarding how these technical architecture choices intersect with a firm's broader risk management strategy.
It really comes down to the specific risk profile of the practice. When disaster strikes, do you want to be relying on a fortified bunker, or do you want the flexibility of a parachute?
Which brings us back to that ticking clock. Whether you choose to heavily armor your firm with local infrastructure and an MSP, or you choose to put all your trust in frictionless, decentralized cloud mobility, one truth remains absolute. You cannot afford for the firm to stop moving. The clock is always ticking. Which strategy will best protect your billable hours? We will leave that for you to decide.